Hello, BookTube. Sorry for the crepuscular lighting here and for the odd hour of upload. This has been a day of unusual upsets. It's been a day of disturbances. Steve does not like days of disturbances. He trundles over to his fainting couch. He sets himself up for a day of reading and writing, and that's exactly what he likes to get. But not today. Today, elements have been moving all around, and some of those elements pay, so I haven't been able to, in a position really to refuse them or to throw much of a fit. But nevertheless, they have disrupted my filming routine. In other words, unfortunately, although I did reading, today is the one day, the first day in June 2025, when I will miss a video for any of the events that I'm involved in. No June on the Range, no Book Trek, no Summer of Sport. But I didn't want to do just... I mean, I read a chapter of the Claverings, but I think I have time for one more video, and I didn't want to do just the one thing. So I have a bunch of new arrivals, new and old books, hardcover and paperback, that I thought we would go through together and see. Some of them are brand new, and we can just look at them together so that when you encounter them at the bookstore, you'll know what you're doing. And others are older, and they just haven't come to me by happenstance. So the first one is... a finished copy, and I don't actually know. I don't have any dates on this, but this is by Jean Bucalt and Johnny Rassa, and it is The Bird Singers: How Two Boys Discovered the Magic of Birdsong, and it's a new finished copy from Grey Wolf Press, I think. Greystone Books. I don't have a sheet for it. I'm assuming that this is a June release. But let's see what we have here. A precious little light to read by. It's so late in the day because one thing after another has been changing my settled routine. In a little village in the north of France, two boys share an astonishing talent. They can mimic the songs of birds. John, the pharmacist's son, and Johnny, whose father is a sheep herder, come from very different worlds. Yet both are fascinated by the seabirds, songbirds, and domestic fowl that populate the Bay of the Somme, which lies along a major migratory flyway. When Jean enters a bird-calling contest and asks Johnny's father to help him, the boys' stories collide. They become rival prodigies on the colorful bird-calling competition circuit. Did not know there was such a circuit. Where most of the competitors are adult men, often hunters who learn to call for sport. As their rivalry intensifies, leading to the European Championship, so does slow-growing camaraderie, and finally an unexpected partnership that will change their lives. Okay. So this book is going to be about them, not about birds. In alternating chapters, they recount their family and school adventures, their evolving understandings of the avian world, and their developing talents as performers. A love letter to birds, filled with poetic descriptions of robins, bluethroats, nightingales, and more, this book is also the story of an unlikely friendship, sparked by an uncommon passion. Okay. Well, I'm going to hope that it's got a lot about birds in it. I could care less about the bird-calling competition circuit. But we'll see. So what else we got here? It's just a totally Oh, okay. This next one is a gem. This is the Cedarburg Authors Circle, Volume 1. This is a self-published collection of fiction written by the Authors Circle of the Cedarburg Public Library in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. There you have a signal there that this is brought to you by the Friends of the Cedarburg Public Library. That name will be familiar to some of you because I also am a part of the Cedarburg Public Library. I do the Books of the Week program on Cedarburg Public Library Radio with my producer, Jeff. We do that every week. We talk about books, have a heck of a time. And the library has a collection of people that form a writing group, the Authors Circle. And this volume brings together some of their work. Whether it's drama or poetry or whatnot, you've got pictures of the authors. Neat little self-published thing. So a lot of you... This is out already. This came in the mail from mailed from my producer. a lot of you have done us the honor of chipping in a little money to the Friends of the Public Library at Cedarburg, Wisconsin. In large part, I think a lot of those contributions have been done in order to show support for Books of the Week. But feel free to buy this book as well. If you, the proceeds will be noticed if it interests you. Then we have an old vintage trade paperback. Vintage did these trade paperbacks with bright red spines. I think they're extremely visually appealing. I have just a handful of them. I mean, there are probably hundreds of them that have been made. I almost never see them. And I confess, sometimes if I see a book that I have largely dismissed, read and dismissed, if I see it in a new format, sometimes I'm just shallow enough so that I will give it another try solely because of the format. And I found a copy of Up in the Old Hotel by Joseph Mitchell in one of these. This is what I'm talking about. We've got the red spine with the white lettering there. I think it's a really, really, really attractive design. I have just a handful of books like this. I read this thing in the old American trade paperback. That was extremely poorly made. It was a bigger trade paperback than this. Had just a couple of dots of cheap glue holding the whole thing together. So it wasn't as well made as this. But I also, in addition to not liking the trade paperback, I didn't like the book either. The book seemed to me to be a whole lot of alcoholic posturing. A whole lot of nonsense about what makes a man and what a man should care about. In other words, an Dude Bro text. They don't know this book exists, but a text that is them, that aligns with their stupid virginal worldview in every single particular. And I largely dismissed it. I read it again when it was the subject of a glowing little renaissance sparked by a movie. And then I just said, no, I see what this author's doing in all of these little sketches of, how interesting all these hopeless alcoholics can be. I see what he's doing, and it doesn't interest me at all. Not at all. You could write a book about so-called old New York that would interest me, and people have, but not this one. But I saw this. Just the other day, I saw this old vintage red spine trade paperback, and I'm just biddable enough. I will give it another try. We will try, and we will see if I find anything more in it. It has legions of fans, so maybe. Then I found one of those taller prestige mass market paperbacks. This is Harlan Coben, an author that I like, but of course I don't love. His books are thin. They're extremely predictable. And this is one that I have not read. I don't religiously read everything by Harlan Coben. What would be the point? There's no point in... I mean... I have to have one of two reasons for reading a book. Either I'm interested in it or I intend to review it. There would be no point whatsoever in reviewing a Harlan Coben novel. He doesn't get reviewed any more than Danielle Steele used to. They don't bother. Why would you bother? You're making 1 million sales without any reviews at all. Why would you? No one is even thinking that there's anything there to review. And if I don't have that, the other reason is I've got to be interested in the book, and I'm not interested in these kinds of extremely thin, manipulative thrillers, one-note thrillers. But because of that, I haven't read everything by this author. I saw this, it was free, so this is Win by Harlan Coben. And it is about a character who goes by that name. His name is Windsor Horn Lockwood III, and his friends call him Win. And he is a man of immeasurable wealth, impeccable taste, and a questionable approach to justice. When the FBI hauls him to a murder scene, Wynne has no idea why until he sees two objects, a Vermeer painting and a suitcase bearing the initials WHL3. Wynne doesn't know how his family heirlooms, which were stolen over 20 years ago when his cousin Patricia was kidnapped, came to be in a dead man's penthouse. When the FBI reveals that the murder victim is also behind a notorious act of terrorism, Wynne must figure out the connection between the two crimes that have baffled the authorities for decades. However, Wynne has three things the FBI doesn't: a personal connection to the case, an ungodly fortune, and his own unique brand of justice. Now, if this follows suit with other Harlan Coben novels that I have read, I am going to take all of those elements, all of which show enormous promise. I'm going to read this book, and I'm going to see that promise largely unrealized. But you never know. I could be wrong, so we'll give it a try. Then I found a trade paperback of a book that I love. I've read this a few times, and this is The Genius of Birds by Jennifer Ackerman. This is truly good stuff. Jennifer Ackerman is so good writing about birds, just so good writing about their natural history, their observed behavior, even marshaling a lot of their anecdotes. Just wonderful. And I didn't have a copy of this, so happy to find it again. What are we doing here? All right, let's finish up with a couple of new things. And the first one is new in paperback. So we've seen this already. I'm pretty sure we saw the galley copy of this and the finished copy. And now the trade paperback of Edward Cahill's Disorderly Men is now out, or just about to be out. They kept the same cover design, same everything. This is gay fiction, but it's not titillating and it's not dumb. It's really good gay fiction. Let's see here. Yeah, so this has tons of blurbs now, including a Midwest Book Review, which I still have not written for. I should correct that. The back. Okay, the back is all blurbs, including by Michael Bronsky and Caleb Crane. Okay, so do we have a description at all? David Levitt reviewed it. Amber Dermott, Ben Neihart, Meg Nolan. No, we don't. We don't have a description of it at all. Well, isn't that cocky? Well, I don't know. Let's read Caleb Crane's blurb. In New York City, half a dozen years before Stonewall, gay men knew who they loved, but not yet who they were. Cahill brings their world to life in a big-hearted novel of existential suspense. A closeted banker fences with a blackmailer. An English professor searches for a brutalized lover. A grocery store manager loses his job and his family. And the reader turns the pages faster and faster to find out not just whether these men make it, but also how gays became people of integrity at a time when shame was so deeply nested in laws, institutions, and their own psyches. Well, yeah, those of you who remember this from when we saw it on this channel will know the main story is about three men who are caught up in the gay rights movement in its first real flourishing at Stonewall. And it tells their varying stories. I don't think I kept the galley copy of this, and I don't think I kept the finished copy, so I'm happy to have this. And then we have an advance copy for August. This is by Emma Slowly, and it is called The Island of Last Things. And I don't believe I have a sheet for this either. No, I don't. All right. Well, let's just read it. Camille has always preferred animals to people. The wild has nearly disappeared, but as the zookeeper at the last zoo in the world, on Alcatraz Island, she spends her days caring for playful chimpanzees, gentle tree frogs, and a restless jaguar. Outside, resistance groups and brutal cartels fight to shape the world's future, but Camille is safe within her routines. That is until a new zookeeper, Sailor, arrives from Paris. From their first meeting, Camille is drawn to Sailor, who seems to see something in Camille that no one has before. They bond over their shared passions and dream up ways to improve their lives. When Sailor whispers the story of an idyllic secret sanctuary where wild animals roam free, Camille begins to imagine a new kind of life with Sailor by her side. Sailor knows all too well the dangers beyond Alcatraz, but she increasingly chafes at the zoo's rigid rules. She hatches a reckless plan to smuggle one of the most prized animals off the island to freedom and invites Camille to join her. The consequences, if they fail, would be catastrophic, and Camille must decide if she's ready to risk everything for the promise of a better world. And also, it absolutely, quite literally, goes without saying in a contemporary novel, also the promise of a fulfilling lesbian love affair. It literally goes without saying. I have written a novel about a kid who sees ghosts. And how is that going to affect his psyche, especially when the FBI learns that he has this skill and maybe they want to tap into it? And how will it affect his family life? And before you go a single sentence further in the mention of his family life, you know he has two mommies. You know that he does. But anyway, propulsive and fiercely hopeful with a heart-stopping final twist. That will be the effing day. This book is an elegy for a disappearing world and a gorgeous vision for the future. And Emma Slowly is a two-time MacDowell Fellow and a Breadloaf Scholar. She's the author of the novels The Island of Last Things and Disaster's Children, and her work has been published in Literary HUD, Catapult, Joyland, and many others. And this book has advanced blurbs from Rebecca Mackay, Talia Lakshmi, Alice Elliott Dark, Hilary Jordan. Okay, The Island of Last Things. I'm trying to remember. I've been there a couple of times. I'm trying to remember how much ground there is at Alcatraz. How much area there is that you could have a zoo. I guess if you were going to make it an old kind of zoo, cement floors, bars, you couldn't make it a new kind of zoo with habitats. Well, anyway, it comes out in August. It sounds really intriguing. The premise sounds really intriguing. So, and that's one of the only ones that I have a date for. Disorderly Men, the trade paperback of Disorderly Men. I'm assuming this is out already. And then the Bird Call book. What's it called? The Bird Singers. I'm assuming this is out already too. You get the finished copy. And then all these others. Well, the Cedarburg volume is out, obviously, because it was sent to me. And then you've got older stuff. When did this Harlan Coben book, for instance? When did this come out? The guy wrote like 40 books. 2021. I probably ignored it. I might not even, if I remember correctly, I might not even have known that it was out. So there's that. There's The Genius of Birds, which I really cannot recommend strongly enough. Very happy to have a copy. And Up in the Old Hotel. Okay, I found it in this format, and it's here. So I will give it another try with an open mind, and we will see what we see. We'll see what we make of it. But anyway, that's just a bunch of books that I grabbed at random as I was sitting down, because I didn't want to make just one video in the day. Although the disorders, the disruptions that I'm talking about, have by no means stopped. So I think you should probably steel yourself for a disruption in the routine of Steve's video uploads this week. One of those disruptions I think you're going to like, but there are many others as well. So I cannot promise a 5-video-a-day schedule when life is intervening. Ordinarily, I like it when life leaves me alone. But that isn't happening at the moment. So I'll wrap this up for now. Hopefully you saw something that was of interest to you, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.